571336.
And thank you for joining us today on Picking Up the Habit, Wednesdays now at 12:30 to 1:30 with Brother Tim, and we have Brother Tim ready to go.
Hey everybody, this is me, Brother Tim. You're listening to Picking Up the Habit. For those of you who have not been here at this time before, we have been on the radio station since 2016, I believe. And as such, we have shifted occasionally on different stations. This is the real time change. We're here on Wednesdays from 12:30 to 1:30. It's kind of like your time to have lunch with a monk. I am an Anglican priest, but I'm also a Celtic monk, which means I follow the charism of St. Columbanus. For those of you who want to know more, feel free to call the station 757-488-5299, 757-488-5299. Picking Up the Habit is a caller-driven show. It started a number of years ago. We had a producer in-house, and he and I used to get in these debatable discussions. For those of you who had not heard before, it was just a very lively discussion between a younger megachurch Christian and myself being more orthodox, more liturgical. And the management went, geez, this might make actually good radio. So we started on the Saturday mornings and then moved to Wednesday evenings. And now we're back to Wednesday mornings or lunchtime, the time when you can be taking a break from everything that you're doing to recalibrate, to get back into what is our real purpose in life. We've got people listening on the Lighthouse Radio Network. You could watch us on Picking Up the Habit on Facebook or on YouTube. Valerie's joining us from California. We spread all over the internet. So you're able to ask any question you want. You can do it in our chat. And when you do that, it alleviates kind of being known who you are. A lot of times we get questions from people who, well, if they ask their pastor and say a friend asked me this, the pastor automatically thinks it was them, and it might not be true. Sometimes you don't want to ask your pastor, and sometimes you just forget to ask your pastor because he's so busy. I am not here to replace your pastor. I am not an expert on all subjects, but you know what? Our audience is. That's why we're here. Our number is 757-488-5299, 757-488-5299. Give us a call. Let us know if you have something you want to talk about. Nothing is off limits. Well, if it's an adult conversation, we need to forewarn our guests that might have littles. But the purpose of Picking Up the Habit is to have a thought-provoking conversation. We just don't want to be talking for the sake of talking. We don't want to be discussing, or the Greek form of the word argue, just for plain and simple fun. We have our thought-provoking conversations that would inspire change. Change within ourselves, within our community, within our church, and most importantly, that builds the kingdom of God. That's our goal on this program. Do we have anybody, Colleen?
Not so far, but
okay.
The hour is still young.
Yeah, it is still very young. First of all, I want to say thank you to Hartman Dentistry. Dr. Vanessa Hartman, they have been sponsoring our show for many, many years now. You've heard a lot of testimonials from our listeners who have gone. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, I'm in Virginia Beach. I'm in Suffolk. Yep. But you know what? This is your dentist. You want to go to a dentist that you feel comfortable with. And she does that. She makes everybody who comes into her office feel comfortable. First of all, every single dentist office looks out onto nature outside their picture windows. You get to look at birds, trees, whatever. Helps you relax instead of being in a sterile room in some building many flights up. Second of all, the people are personable, and most of them are practicing Christians. So if you're nervous, all you need to do is ask if you can pray or if they will pray for you, and they will, more than happily. And even better, they've got this little trick that I picked up on the first time I was there. They'll touch you on your shoulder and kind of give you a little one-hand shoulder massage. And the next thing you know, it's already done. It distracts you. The feeling on your shoulder takes away from whatever's going on in your mouth, and it works. And on top of that, if you are a person who's susceptible to pain, all you have to do is mention it to Dr. Hartman. So as far as feeling good in their office, it's there. The next thing that happens there, amazingly, is the amount of knowledge and professionalism. Dr. Hartman's not just a DDS. She's not just a dentist. She is a PhD of dentistry. She does dental research into new techniques, new procedures that you get first before they're ever taught to the other dentists. And she teaches them to other dentists. She was one of the people who pioneered bringing a dental lab into her business so that you can go in that morning with bad teeth and leave that afternoon with a whole new grill.
Brother Tim, I don't want to interrupt you because we love
Sure.
our sponsors, but we have Valerie on the line if you'd like to take Valerie.
Sure. Hey, Valerie, what do you got to have to say today?
Hey, I've never called in before, but hey, it was a first for everything. I just want to emphasize how much I appreciate the format of the show as far as just having conversations. For me personally, I went through, I grew up in church. My dad was an Army chaplain for 30 years. I went to Bible college. I went to a Christian university. So I was immersed in Christianity my entire life. And in the past few years, I was in this ministry discipleship school, and something happened, and I was hurt very deeply by the church leadership there and the school leadership. And I walked away, and I was like, I don't want anything to do with this. And for me, I don't believe necessarily that everything happens for a reason, but I believe that nothing is wasted, and I believe those are different things. And over the course of the last few years, as I've been away from church, I've been able to have some really incredible conversations with non-Christians or people that have also walked away or that have really bitter feelings toward Christians. And I think that the pain that I went through allowed me to have a point of commonality in conversation, and it allowed me to step back out of my own beliefs for just a second and listen to the other person and where they're coming from. And I always say, I'm like, I may not necessarily believe what you believe or agree, but help me understand why you believe that. What, where are you coming from? And I really, really, really believe that that the pain that I went through is going to be definitely used in God's perfect timing to help bridge a gap in maybe just people in my own life, but maybe even further than that. And I don't regret necessarily anything that happened in my life because it's all brought me to who I am right now. And I really think that so the pain, it's like I'm never going to get you to see where I'm coming from until I can really see where you're coming from and see your perspective and see when we share heart to heart like that, that is where true connection and conversation and everything happens. So I believe that, I mean, that's where Jesus' approach was, from a place of love and compassion and not from judgment or shaming.
Well, thank you, Valerie. You know, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
The problem is a lot of our listeners work together for good to those who love God and are called according to his purpose. They forget that tail end. And I think you're absolutely right. Not everything happens for a reason. Otherwise, we would not be in a war with the enemy.
Exactly.
Everything for good. And I believe that he uses you for good each and every conversation you have.
Yep.
Thank you for listening. I appreciate it. And thank you for being a friend.
Yeah. Thanks for letting me share. All right.
Problem. Bye-bye. See, folks, that is what our show's about. It's about having a conversation. Now, sometimes we can discuss doctrinal issues. And a lot of what I like to do is point out why people believe people know where that belief comes from. I'll give you an example. Marriage. I know some people that believe that marriage is eternal. Okay. Well, that my brother married his brother-in-law's wife, and then he died, and his brother married her, and so when they get to heaven, to have husbands and wives in heaven. So doesn't that contradict what you just said, Brother Tim? Well, I didn't say I had that belief, but I said some do. And the more I thought about it, the more I went back to the first couple were the first married couple. Now, marriage based upon an exchange of each other. In fact, not married. So they were married, and I think all of us will agree that Adam and Eve were originally meant to live forever. That meant marriage was supposed to be for eternity. Yet, when sin entered the world and death by sin, because Adam and Eve would not have died, then their marriage would have been for eternity. But because now they died, their marriage dissolves at death. But I can still see where that comes from. I can still see that. And that's why we're here. Our number is 757-488. We are here every Wednesday at 12:30 to have these. I've got to give you their number because I know somebody's out there waiting. Hartman Dentistry's number is, hang on one second, it is 757 873-3407. And when you call, tell them you heard the number on our program. You'll schedule an appointment. It might be 4, 5, 6 weeks because they're that good. But if somebody cancels, you'll be the first one to be called that afternoon or the next day. So give Hartman Dentistry a call. It's 757-873-3. As many of you know, I run Five Loaves Food Pantry out here in Newport News. We're open every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday from 11 to 1. We start our day at 8 in the morning with food and distribute our food and end the day at 1. And then normally there is noon prayer. But on Wednesdays, I cut short. Have you ever wondered in the Bible, when you read that we are supposed to pray unceasingly, we are told that we need to pray unceasingly in 1 Thessalonians 5:17. Pray without ceasing. In everything give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus concerning you. And every morning when we open up, we give thanks. And I constantly feel, maybe I'm just not, I really mean thank you. Thank you for all you've done for us. But sometimes it just sounds like words. And so I remind myself and all of our volunteers that when we come in, sometimes people come in and say, listen, we only got one box. Well, that's okay. It's one box more than what we had. If you ever desire to see the wonders of God, do miracles, come to a food pantry. That is God's pantry. I can't begin to bags of food to give out, and we've only got so many bags. And then we look at the line and we say there is absolutely no way that we are going to be able to get it. There's no way we have enough to feed everybody. And yet we always do. That's God. That's God. 3 weeks ago, I may have. You let me know about, did I talk about being attacked at the pantry 3 weeks ago?
You did.
I did. Good.
And I want to mention we are having a little bit of some lag time on the video stream. So I don't know if that's your internet or our internet having some problems, but it keeps going in and out. So I am not
I'll tell you what, why don't you take us to a break and I'll reconnect?
All right. Sounds good.
We're pointing the way in Hampton Roads, the Lighthouse. Listen on AM 1270, 96.9, or 100.1 FM. You can also listen live at mylighthouseradio.com. 3 different ways to listen to Christian teaching and preaching.
Actual client review of Hartman Dentistry.
I just want to say that I just went to Dr. Hartman, and she is absolutely wonderful.
What did you think when you walked in? Did it just feel like it was a relaxing place to be?
Yes, it's very nice, very clean, very bright. You're not sitting in a room with just four walls. The room that I was in, you could see outside.
Did you have a wait before you walked in?
I was there maybe 15 minutes before I got into the office, and so I got in my chair, and then maybe another 30 minutes while the technician, did X-rays and all.
And so, are you going to go back and get your teeth fixed the way she says?
I'm going to try. I am going to try because I really trust her, and the only reason I went is because you thought so highly of her.
I got to tell you, I'm in love.
Give Hartman Dentistry a call at 757-873-3407.
Are you waking up with a damp, moldy, or mildew smell? Are you coughing all the time and blaming allergies? Over 30% of your household air comes from your crawl space. Schedule a free crawl space inspection and close your crawl space to prevent those microscopic allergens and spores in your household air. Install the Easy Breathe ventilation system talked about on the Gary Sullivan Show. Replacing that damp air with fresh, healthy air reduces allergens and other indoor toxins. To schedule your free inspection from the Crawl Space Company, call 757-394-3494.
You are listening to W245CK Suffolk, W261DI Norfolk, W250BQ Newport News, and WTJZ Newport News. And thank you for listening to Picking Up the Habit here on this Wednesday. I think we have Brother Tim back on. And again, thank you for bearing with us as we're working through, Brother Tim's now remote from the studio. And so I think we have him back on. Again, the phone lines are open 757-488-5299, 757-488-5299.
Hello, everybody. I am back. I just rebooted on my end, so hopefully that'll clear up the connection. Unfortunately, I can't get into the studios fast enough on Wednesdays and maintain that the pantry be open. We have served over 67 families today. So as much as I like being on air and as much as I believe that this program is a ministry of Livingstone Monastery and Five Loaves Food Pantry, I do still need to feed the people first. We had a new church come out this week. I want to give Northside Christian Church in Yorktown on 17 a shout out. I may invite, I know I will invite their pastor to be on one day. They came out on Thursday last week. We spoke. And they were here on Tuesday in force with their youth that are homeschooled so that we could get in food, over 5 tons of food, to be able to put together bags of USDA product to distribute to families. There were 440 bags of food, 480 bags of food that were put together by these kids and adults. It was amazing. And that's Northside Christian Church. And they had received word in discussion that having this food work, that this was something they were to do. They prayed, and through prayer, they believed that this is what God wanted them to do before they even came to us. They knew that they were supposed to find a place. And so they did. Now, I need to tell you, when you are a church, my personal opinion, and I've said it on the show before, many of you now just listening may have never heard it. I think churches failed and still fail to this day, because it is the responsibility of the people of God to take care of widows and orphans. That's the church's responsibility. It's not the responsibility of our government. It's not our city, our state, or our federal to take care of the widows and the orphan. It's the church. And we failed. Our church leadership gave it up because they didn't want to do it anymore. Those who still wanted to do it still do. But most churches have given it up. Does this mean you have to host your own? No. At least participate in a pre-existing one. And it isn't just me. That's a cop-out. Brother Tim.
Brother Tim, we're having some technical difficulties again. It sounds like we're having a struggle keeping you solid on the air. I don't know if you want to try to call in and do it that way over the phone, 757-488-5299.
Take me out, put something on. I'll be back.
Beach Radiator and Air Conditioning at 1776 Virginia Beach Boulevard offers a wide variety of services for heating and cooling systems on automobiles. Technicians are ASE and MAX certified. Pickup services are available, and most jobs are completed the same day. They're open from 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. weekdays. Beach Radiator is owned and operated by Glenn Davis, and their phone number is 437-7800. Their website is beachradiator.com. Thanks to Beach Radiator for sponsoring.
You're listening to The Lighthouse, W245CK Suffolk, W261DI Norfolk, and WPMH Newport News.
All right, and you are listening to Picking Up the Habit, and I have Brother Tim.
Hey, folks, we're having technical problems, but you know what that means to me? It could very well be the enemy trying to screw up with the show. Now, I am not one of those Christians who blame everything on the enemy. I don't try to give him more power than what he has. But it does cross the mind. And what I was saying before is that I believe that our churches gave up their responsibility to take care of the least, the last, and the lost by saying it's the government's job. And they didn't say it was the government's job. They just allowed the government to take control of it, instead of standing up for their own rights and responsibilities. There are so many churches out there right now that are nothing but places and houses of entertainment. They're not places of worship and prayer. People come to be entertained with lights and smoke and laser lights and hand lights and flat. That's great and wonderful to gather that way. But for me, Sunday worship is about worshiping God and giving thanks to God for what's going on, not for a music team to entertain an audience. I think we miss up a number of decades ago when the Christian concerts were becoming so powerful that we felt we needed our worship to become the same way. If people will come to the concerts, they'll come to church if it's the same thing. The problem is then it isn't church. It's a concert. And in the same way, it's happened with our responsibilities of taking care of the least and the last and lost. The government said, we need to do these programs to take care of the poor. And the churches just went, oh, okay, go ahead and do that. What's for us to worry about? But here's the deal. I worry for pastors. I worry for elders. I have cried with some of my friends because I am fearful of the day when we stand before God. I'm fearful at times because I remember that people are going to say, Lord, I did this, Lord, I did that, Lord, I did this, and He's going to say, depart from me, for I never knew you. Well, Lord, I don't understand. I helped plant 3 churches. I grew my congregation from 100